You've been tricked into thinking these movies are good because they have one insanely memorable scene. But that's it. Even if you don't agree, I think it's impossible to deny that these integral scenes are what make these movies what they are. Now, I'm not saying any of these films are bad, but they might actually be some of the most overrated movies of all time. So I think even people that love The Dark Knight are gonna know right away what scene I'll be talking about. And that's because even if The Dark Knight is your favorite movie ever, you have to admit how much better the intro is than anything following in the movie. If you've only seen this movie a couple of times, do you even remember anything else besides maybe the hospital blowing up or the pencil scene? The rest of this movie is mostly just Batman in a parking garage or driving the Batmobile. It's crazy because I think this is one of the sickest scenes ever. Definitely one of the best first scenes in a movie, but that's exactly how it tricked you. It's the perfect show, don't tell intro into the psychoticness of the Joker, who of course Heath Ledger is just perfect as. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But first, the scene itself progresses at such a perfect pace. It's intriguing and diabolical, especially your first time watching. And of course, the reveal at the end is pretty unforgettable. If you do any critical thinking into the logistics of the Joker's plan in this scene, it kind of makes no sense. Why are these dudes even taking a bank heist job where they know the crew is gonna get killed? Also, after this dude attacks with a shotgun, it feels like the bank is just empty for the rest of the scene. I know grenades were strapped to the hostages, but not all of them, right? I don't know. The rest of the scene is kind of long for the hostages to just kind of disappear. Also, it literally looks so stupid at the end of the scene when the bus just drives out of the bank into the perfect hole in the line of buses, and none of the other buses think about it. Plus, the bus was just sticking like halfway out of the bank before this, and no one around cares. Like, how does that even... But all of this is just super easy to ignore your first time watching the movie, because you just get caught up in how well thought out and cool and intricate it all is. Actually, I remember being a kid and telling my cousins I just never watched this movie because I didn't like Batman, and so they made me watch it with them. And during the first scene, I remember just being on the edge of my seat, like, holy hell, this bank heist is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. You guys are right, Batman is awesome, this movie's awesome. But then the scene ended and the rest of the movie played and nothing else interesting happened. I don't know. This movie kind of sucks. I think overall The Dark Knight Rises is probably better, which is crazy. That movie's horrible too, but I actually remember more from it somehow, and what I do remember is just better. That movie also has a scene that's way better than the rest of the movie though, obviously the football scene. After I first saw that movie in theaters, they were selling these Gotham jerseys from it. I wanted to buy one so bad. Again, I'm not a Batman fan, but it's just cool. I'm not a football fan either. I'd so much rather watch the old 80s and 90s Batman movies. And if you watched my Jim Carrey video, then you know I don't really like those movies either. It's some crazy bias because I don't really like superheroes. I don't understand the craze around them, especially the last 10 or 15 years. I never have. You know who I think the coolest superhero ever is? Underdog. I loved that cartoon as a kid. One of my birthday parties, I was probably like 10 years old, and there was a 24-hour Underdog marathon going on. So I opened my presents at my birthday party, and then I just went inside to watch Underdog all day while my friends and family partied. To be fair though, the live-action Underdog movie should have never happened. Even as a kid, I wasn't excited for that movie because the trailer was so bad. Anyways, let's get back to the Joker's heist. I want to talk about the main reason this scene is so good, and it's of course because of the saving grace of the entire movie, really, Heath Ledger. He just plays this role unbelievably believably. He's scary exactly like he should be. He's funny exactly like the Joker should be. And I feel like this might be the only take on the Joker that's so mysterious and creepy. You know, he's normally supposed to be plotting and you're not supposed to know what's going on, but I don't feel like he's normally that hard to read. Heath Ledger feels horrifyingly unpredictable. He's the only reason the movie is even watchable past the intro, but mostly because you're excited to see him again, not because of anything else he does. Honestly, no one else does anything crazy or considered cool or memorable past the intro. If the Joker had just kept robbing banks in different masks for 2 hours, this movie would have been a masterpiece. And if The Dark Knight didn't open the way it did, I'm sure people would still like it, but I'm pretty confident in saying that it would not be praised as much. Christopher Nolan's gotta be the most overrated director of all time. I'm gonna have to make a video about that, although I am still pretty excited to see his take on the Odyssey next year. While rewatching this movie, I actually recognized someone crazy. Does anyone else recognize this guy? Am I the only one? It's Ben Sturkey.
What do you say, partner? Let's get psyched, huh? High fives!
Since I brought up Jim Carrey, I want to talk about easily his most overrated movie. It's literally his biggest commercial success, or at least it was until Sonic 3. How is Sonic 3 so big? Yeah, Bruce Almighty. You know, people still talk about it like it's a classic and one of Jim Carrey's best roles, and that's exactly what I thought until I watched it again. It's not really funny. It's actually pretty boring. It's true. You're gonna have to go rewatch it if you want to believe me. I know, because I wouldn't have believed it either. It's genuinely maybe Jim Carrey's least funny comedy, except for Ace Ventura 2. And you might think that the scene I'm going to be talking about is the one you probably remember the most from the movie, if you're around my age or older, because it was in the commercial for the movie, and I felt like I saw it a million times on TV as a kid. Of course, that's the scene where Bruce Almighty uses his newfound godlike powers to part traffic. But no, the actual best scene in the movie, the only scene that really makes Bruce Almighty still worth watching at all, is the final scene where God, Morgan Freeman, and Jim Carrey reunite. Not only is Morgan Freeman, of course, as God, like the smartest casting decision, but this movie might be the only time in history that God should have been given more screen time. Yeah, I just love the payoff here the second time they meet. When they first meet, it actually isn't very good. Like, the idea itself of God just solo running this white warehouse is kind of funny, but that doesn't really mean anything that happens in the warehouse is. Morgan Freeman is pretending to be a janitor and asks Jim Carrey for help mopping up the floor. He jokingly replies that he's on a quest right now, but will when he's free on the 7th at 7.
7th at 7 it is.
So then towards the end of the movie, when Jim Carrey's had enough and returns to God's corporate warehouse, he perfectly arrives on time at 7 on the 7th. So they mop the floor together, and Morgan Freeman says Jim Carrey's most iconic line.
Alrighty then.
It's sweet. It almost makes the rest of the movie worth watching. No, it doesn't, though. I'm probably never gonna watch this movie again. Evan Almighty's just better, it really is. I also want to talk about The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which was a movie that I remember just being hyped for as a teen based on the trailer. I loved Ben Stiller, mostly because of Night at the Museum, and seriously, I thought this was just going to be like my favorite movie ever. And then I watched it, and I don't remember even being disappointed by it or anything. I don't think I was, but it just absolutely did not stick with me. I remember years later being reminded about the movie and being like, I love that movie, but for some reason I could only kind of remember one little thing about it, besides the fact that he's like a sad business guy with a big imagination, right? The only thing I could remember was a very faint memory of Ben Stiller skateboarding down a volcano. And even thinking of that, I was like, is that even from Walter Mitty? Is that from some other movie? Is it even Ben Stiller riding down the mountain? Or am I just making up the memory or something? So I had to rewatch it as soon as I could. And the only good news that came from that is confirming that this skateboarding down a foreign mountain scene is from this movie. And it is a pretty memorable scene, to be fair. But yeah, I also just found out that the rest of this movie is just whack. Even this scene itself is kind of whack. It almost looks like a skateboarding ad. But again, it's memorable and it looks really cool. If you've never seen or heard of this movie, basically Ben Stiller's following his dreams and abandoning his miserable office life, and he winds up biking through the countryside of Greenland. He crashes his bike and then barters his Stretch Armstrong for these non-English speaking kids' longboard. So of course he uses that to skate down the mountain. And yeah, it's a mountain he's skateboarding down, not a volcano. But I misremembered it as a volcano because the scene literally right after is Ben Stiller barely escaping a volcano in a car. Yeah, this is a weird, not very good movie, sadly. If you want a good volcano movie, go watch Joe versus the Volcano. Anyway, Walter Mitty in an alternate universe somewhere definitely, I think, would turn into like a 10 out of 10 critically acclaimed or at least underground cult classic, but not in our timeline. Seven is just not that good. I don't know what else to say. I think people overrate this movie so hard. It's not a bad movie by any means, but people say it's like the darkest, craziest, most thrilling and twisted movie ever sometimes, and I just don't get it. It's directed by David Fincher, who also directed Fight Club and Zodiac. Fight Club is one of my favorite movies ever, and I think Zodiac is kind of just Seven, but done better. Zodiac also has the added intrigue, of course, from being based on a true story. But yeah, on to the Seven scene I'm going to be talking about, which is a very good scene, but I still do think even it's kind of overrated. If you've seen the movie, or even if you haven't, you probably know what scene this is, the what's in the box scene. It's iconic. Actually, I find it hilarious. I don't know if it's supposed to be, or if I even find it funny if it didn't become a meme, but it's just the way Brad Pitt says,
Oh, what's in the box?
it's so funny. It was probably about when I was in high school that I saw this scene online somewhere, and I thought it was badass, and I really wanted to know what was in the box. So I watched the movie, and I think me wanting to know what was in the box is definitely a part of the reason I was disappointed, I guess, because I thought it was going to be like a mystery during that scene, and whatever's in the box would then be like a climactic reveal. And it is, but it's just not really like a mystery what's in the box. You kind of know right away. And even Brad Pitt is screaming, asking what's in the box. Not because he doesn't know what's inside, but more because he doesn't want to believe what's inside. So what happens is Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman are detectives hunting down the 7 deadly sins killer. It's no wonder David Fincher went on to make Zodiac, because this is clearly inspired by the Zodiac Killer too. The whole movie is them being one step behind the serial killer, who turns out to be Kevin Spacey, who's still creepier in real life than he is in this movie.
And you trusted me, even though you knew you shouldn't.
Honestly, I don't think he's a good villain in Seven. I've seen people say he's terrifying and disturbing in this role, but I can't see anything other than cringe.
I didn't do that.
Kevin Spacey is so unbelievably cringe. Why does he speak the way he does? Like he's introducing a piano recital or the school talent show or something. But then he also talks super slowly too, like some I'm better than you smudgeness.
And there's our smudgeness.
He's just the worst. This would for sure be better with a different actor. Not that that would save the movie or anything for me. Kevin Spacey's only in like the last half hour anyway. So yeah, I do like the scene, even though I was so disappointed with it, especially on my first watch. But the rest of the movie, I don't know. I'm obviously just missing something. Because again, I don't think it's bad. I've just never really been into it or impressed by it.
What's your plan? If you ever lose a fight, then you go back again.
All right, the final movie I'm going to be talking about might make some people mad, because I don't think I've ever seen anyone talk badly about this movie, at least online. In real life, plenty of people I know have, but online, I don't see anything but praise for Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which I'm sorry, it's not that funny. I just have to come out and say it. The biggest defense I'll make for the movie is that it's from the 70s, and even today, I think it's pretty obvious that this was revolutionary for comedy. That doesn't mean the humor itself holds up very well. Most of it just doesn't. And there are movies from the 70s that the humor does hold up, like Up in Smoke, Blazing Saddles, or even the original Muppets. Come on. Humor that old and even older can age hilariously. Like, for example, the Black Knight scene in Monty Python. There's a reason this is like the only scene from the movie that is still really relevant today. Even The Life of Brian has more famous scenes, and I'm sure there are fans of the Holy Grail that don't even know that exists. But the Black Knight scene has become so iconic and referenced for a reason. It's pretty much perfect. I think everyone's pretty much seen this, right? But in case you haven't, it's about a knight that's blocking King Arthur's path forward and won't stop trying to fight King Arthur, even once his limbs all get chopped off. The way King Arthur starts praying after he cuts off both of the Black Knight's arms and he gets interrupted with a kick to the head always gets me. Something else that's funny that I don't think a lot of people know is that originally the knight was supposed to be pink and he was going to force King Arthur to kiss him in order to pass. Yeah, another big problem with the scene is that it's really early in the movie, and the rest of the film past this point, it's not unfunny, but none of it can hold a candle to the Black Knight. Saying it's just a flesh wound has obviously become so iconic too. Yeah, sadly in my opinion though, the rest of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, it might make you laugh at points. Some parts still make me laugh too, but I don't really think anything besides this scene is really gonna leave anyone busting a gut with laughter. The rest of the movie kind of just feels like the most drawn out SNL skit or something. At the end of the day, maybe these movies only had one good scene because it's all they needed. Especially in something like a Batman movie or a crime thriller, it kind of makes sense that one specific climactic scene would carry the rest of the movie, because otherwise you kind of know what you're getting before you even watch the movie. Do you know what I mean? There's so many more scenes like this in movies too that elevate either a bad movie to good or even a good movie to great, just because it's the only thing you remember about the movie is like that one crazy scene. Yeah, let me know any other movie scenes you feel this way about too. Actually, it might also be interesting to do a video about the opposite, good movies that are ruined by just one scene. Let me know down below if you want to see that next. And like this video if you enjoyed yourself. Subscribe if you want more content like this too. I'm trying to put out videos like weekly or even more often when I can. Been a lot of fun so far. Give me any criticisms. Let me know what you think could be done better about my videos, about the channel. Yeah, thanks for watching. As always, I'm just having so much fun making videos. I hope you're having fun watching them.